We heard from the Pakistan Air Force, Air Marshal Aurangzeb Ahmed, when he gave a briefing, comprehensive briefing to the international media on 8th of May, he spoke about a new war concept called multi-domain operations. Now, one of the requirements of a multi-domain operation, which helps, is to have integration and standardization of the capabilities and the platforms. What this means is that 80% today of the Pakistani Air Force assets, or rather all the assets of the Pakistan military, they are of Chinese origin. And this will go up because the key thing in the multi-domain operation is really the Pakistan Air Force Link 17, which I have said earlier also that it combines the space-based capabilities, again given by the Chinese, then the airborne assets, and then the ground assets and their fighters and their other combat aircraft assets. All this is combined, and this is possible only if you have a high level of integration and standardization. And this is the precursor. First of all, it helps in two ways. It helps increase the situation awareness. What this means is that even the legacy Mirage aircraft, they can now, because of this digital ecosystem called multi-domain operation, which is backing the Mirage, their situation awareness, it increases by hundreds of kilometers. And the second is that this will help in closing the kill chain very fast for the Pakistan Air Force. And if I may add, this multi-domain operation is really a precursor to the joint integrated operations which the PLA today is doing, and that is called the informatized war. What this means is that you link right now, as far as Pakistan is concerned, they have multi-domain operations only for the Air Force. Then you link the other two services as well, and that is once again, I'm just talking ahead what the future holds. This is once again where the PLA will step in and help the Pakistan side. So the capabilities are important, and as I said, they are the basic things for working the multi-domain operation, which is at an entirely different war level. It is a concept of an entirely different level. Now, the next thing is, I've spoken about the war concept. Next is the training. Now, there is no secret that the pilot to aircraft ratio of Pakistan is better than the Indian side. I mean, the Indian side is 1.5. That means 1.5, which is on the Pakistan side it is 2.5 pilot per aircraft. On the Indian side, 1.5 pilot per aircraft. They are double this side, which means all this helps in a high intensity war, and especially in a war where there is a contestation. So they are better off here, and not only that, there is commonality of equipment. They have been doing joint trainings with the PLA, especially the PLAF and the Pakistan Air Force, the Shaheen exercises, which we know intensified after August 2019. So they've been doing all this. So training is another thing, and they will be dependent a lot on training on the People's Liberation Army. Now the next thing is the finances. Now there are reports that China is happy to give 50% discount on the assets that they are selling to Pakistan. I don't believe that. I think that the Chinese will give whatever they give, the top of the line stuff, to Pakistan free of cost, because in any case they are getting a lot. They are getting two things in return. One is that without getting into a war themselves, their equipment is creating deterrence against the Western equipment. And the second thing is that this increases the arms sale because they are operationally now validated. So the arms sales of the Chinese side, they increase. Now, that is about the finances. Now, there is something more that I want to talk very briefly, which is about information war. You see, information war is very important, but there are two requirements of an information war. I have said this earlier also, let me repeat it here. Information war, first of all, should be very close to the real war. You cannot just talk things like Karachi is captured or Islamabad is bombed. It doesn't make sense because it is so unreal. And then we saw during Operation Sindoor, people like former army officers calling Iranian leadership pigs. I mean, who does that? Iran today is the only country which stands tall in the Middle East, and Iran is a very important member of BRICS. So we heard all this. And the second requirement of an information war is that you can have disinformation, but you need to have information also. Something we saw that on the Pakistani side they did very well after the air battle, but on the Indian side we did not do that at all after the air battle. So you see, this is important because this is what the world sees, and based on that they make their own conclusions. You see, information war is very important, but there are two requirements of an information war. I have said this earlier also, let me repeat it here. Information war, first of all, should be very close to the real war. You cannot just talk things like Karachi is captured or Islamabad is bombed. It doesn't make sense because it is so unreal. And then we saw during Operation Sindoor, people like former army officers calling Iranian leadership pigs. I mean, who does that? Iran today is the only country which stands tall in the Middle East. And Iran is a very important member of BRICS. So we heard all this. And the second requirement of an information war is that you can have disinformation, but you need to have information also. Something we saw that on the Pakistani side they did very well after the air battle, but on the Indian side we did not do that at all after the air battle. So you see, this is important because this is what the world sees, and based on that they make their own conclusions. Now the last thing is about the Pakistan army mobilization. Now you see, given again if their geography is disadvantaged for their air bases being close to the border, the advantage is that they have interior lines of communication. So their mobilization of the army can be much faster than the mobilization of the Indian army. In fact, that is something that the Pakistan army would be practicing and training now in this pause period as to how to bring everything, their reserves, their strike formations, their holding formations, everything together to war, to combat in about 48 hours to 72 hours. So all this will be going on in this pause period. But I still hope that the suggestion made by the Pakistan side is considered seriously by the Indian side, because what we need is, India also needs is, we need peace, and that is the basic requirement for development. And I'll give you just one example of this. You see now, as far as the 5th generation aircraft is concerned, there is talk going on that AMCA will happen, that AMCA will come into being. You see, AMCA is good idea, but considering the time that we are living in, it is not a realistic proposition. India has to go to get a 5th generation aircraft. AMCA cannot be that aircraft. Thank you so much.